Hello, fourth graders. It's Miss Leon here, and we are beginning the next step of our writing piece, the informational writing, and our topic is the American Revolution. So at this point, you have written some drafts or some pieces of your chapter 1, which was all about the American Revolution, and chapter 2, which was a subtopic. I asked you guys to then take the information that you had and decide to break that apart in one of two ways. You can either decide to break your information up into categories, or you can do it in chronological subtopics. So now what we're going to do is we're going to elaborate on our writing, because we've gotten really good at writing about what we know, but we need to elaborate and we need to add more details to that. So we're going to pretend that we are a teacher, and we're going to have to give more explanations and more details to our reader or our audience by being the teacher of that topic. And we need to take what we are teaching and add that to our actual writing. All right, you're going to get a organizer or a document like this. The title is Elaboration, Planning Your Writing by Teaching. So we're going to continue to teach and inform our reader by elaborating or telling more about the topic. Here are some of your guiding questions. What will interest the reader? So when you are going to be writing, you need to be adding information that will be interesting to read, because nobody wants to read something that is boring and no fun. The second question is what do you want the audience to learn? See, you are the person that knows all about this. You need to teach the reader. So what is it that you want them to learn? And then the last thing is as you're writing, you will probably come across some information that might be confusing to your reader. So you want to make sure that as you're writing that whatever you're writing, you kind of clear that up and you make it more understandable so that your readers aren't confused. So you need to kind of look at this and be like, well, what I said doesn't make exact clear sense. So what can I do to make this more understandable to my reader? And that's your job to do. So as we're doing this, you guys see that this is a boxes and bullets format. You are going to write the topic of your chapter, whether that's chapter 1 or 2, you put the topic there, and then you'll write some bullets about things that can interest your reader or what you want your reader to learn right there. And you will be adding your ideas in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started, and you will see how I'm going to be doing this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. What I did is I wrote down the topic of my chapter 1, which is the American Revolution. And I went through and I created some things that I felt would be interesting and what I would want my audience to learn. It's important that in that first chapter that you explain what was the American Revolution. First of all, what was it? And then I thought about how is it important to our country? I mean, where do we live at? What is our country? And why is this American Revolution important to our country? I mean, what is its relation to us? And then I thought about what I wanted the audience to learn. Maybe they don't know, but why did the colonists want to have their own country? Maybe that's confusing to them. Maybe I want the audience to learn that, but I also think that could be confusing. Like, why did we want to have our own country? And then why did some colonists feel that Britain ruling us was bad? That could be confusing too. What was so bad about that? So those are some things that I want to make sure that I keep in my mind so that when I start writing, I can include that into my writing. I'm also going to do that for my chapter 2. So I'm going to add a little bit more information on this sheet. Okay, so let's say that my second chapter is all about Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. And I need to talk about, what would interest my reader. Okay, what will interest them? I think it would be interesting for the reader to know about what happened to Paul Revere after his Midnight Ride. Did anything happen to him? Did he get arrested? Was he just fine? Did he go into hiding? I don't know. That could be interesting. I think it's also interesting that when Paul Revere was warning the colonists, he had to do it very, very quietly. So that might be interesting to know, and then to tell my reader why he had to be quiet. Something that I think is a little bit confusing that I'm not really clear about, and I think that the readers might not be exactly clear about either, is why is Paul Revere's Midnight Riot such a big deal? I mean, other people did the same exact thing. There were other people that went around and warned the colonists, not just Paul Revere. So why is it that we're only talking about Paul Revere? Why is he the only person that's really mentioned in the history books? That's kind of confusing to me. So I might want to address that in my chapter all about Paul Revere's right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy what these points are that I have made for each chapter. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste them like I did right here where they belong for that chapter. And I highlighted it yellow so I can see that. And what my job now is to reread through that chapter. I'm going to make sure that these questions are being answered, or I'm giving more information about these questions in my chapter. For example, what was the American Revolution? I believe that I started to answer that right here. It was the American Revolution didn't just happen overnight. It's something that kept building. Colonists were upset by things that King George, the King of Great Britain, did to them. And after a while, they got mad enough that they started to think that they should have their own country. Okay, I wrote that, but then I'm seeing, like, I have these subtopics about the French and Indian War and the taxes. So I'm not saying how it's important to our country. I did not answer that question. So I'm going to have to start writing right here, somewhere in this chapter, about why it's important, about why colonists wanted to have their own country, and why they felt that Britain was ruling us was bad. So I'm going to start adding some information about that. Or maybe even I can come back and I can do some boxes and bullets about the French and Indian War and even the taxes within this chapter to help elaborate and give more information. So that's your job. You need to be asking yourself questions. The questions about what is interesting, what do you need to teach the reader more about, and what is confusing? So again, 3 questions you need to be asking yourself. What will interest your reader? What do you want the audience to learn? And what could be confusing? And start going through your writing, do your boxes and bullets, figure that out, and then add that information into your writing so you can get a stronger piece of writing. Can't wait to see what you do.